Hey everybody, Seth with Everyman Prepping. How's everybody doing today? What I want to talk to you a little bit, we're going to get into the Iran, Israel, what's going on with that. Are they pulling back? Are they just waiting? Is Israel, United States going to do a preemptive attack? We're going to get into all that, some Syria news and some other stuff. First, I want to talk a little bit about what I was talking with my buddy about just the other day. And that's about, he was saying, oh, it's very hard to be optimistic right now with what has already happened before, the whole 2020 COVID thing, and then you go on to what happened in the election, and then what's going on with this election, and what the links that the people in charge, the government, powers that be, whatever you want to call them, the links they go at to manipulate people, get them what they want, pressures they put on the system, all that. It's hard to be optimistic. But and the truth is, what makes you optimistic? How do you combat that? Well, that's preparing. That's prepping. That's what we do. You do these things in order to, I wouldn't say to be optimistic about the future, but be ready for it. And, yes, it's hard to be optimistic about what's coming, but you prepare for it so you can be able to deal with what is happening. And then we talked some more. Then we got into talking about, the neighbors, your neighborhood. And he said lately he's been talking about, well, which neighbors have been prepping, which ones he knows will be okay for, to support themselves, which ones will not, which ones will be the leeches, which ones does he have to worry about, which ones are armed, which ones are not armed, which ones might come for your stuff and stuff like that. So he did a neighborhood assessment, and I encourage everybody to do this. I've done this as well. You can get a Google Earth map printout of your neighborhood or whatever you want to use, and go by and take notes on your neighbors. Who is on your side, who is like you, who preps, who doesn't, who has no food, who has a garden, who may be armed, who may not be armed, mental state, how they react to things, how they react to small issues. He's talking about how a couple of his neighbors, they're concerned with what's going on, but they think it'll just pass. Everything will be okay. It's part of the group of people that nothing ever happens, even though things are happening every day and it's escalating. There's a lot of people out there that, they may be ready to defend themselves, let's say, be armed, but they believe it'll all pass. But what happens when it doesn't? So they're not prepared. How are they going to get the stuff they need? You got to think about that. So that's just two tidbits I want to talk about before we go in to why it doesn't seem like being that optimistic. And we'll start with this here, the Iran deal. So, we all know that there were three, basically IRGC, the Hamas leader, and another commander from Hezbollah. These three gentlemen here, if you want to call them gentlemen, were all killed by Israel, a week and a half or so. And then we've been waiting on Iran to, do something. They've done nothing. It's been crickets from them. Yeah, there's been talk. They've been closing airspace now and then. Today they told their people, well, it's super hot out. It's going to be like 109. So, we're going to say don't go to the banks, stay indoors. We're closing some, government offices and that. They want their people indoors. 109, yeah, it's hot, but people in Arizona deal with that and they go out and do stuff. People in the Middle East, it's hot all the time. Anybody deployed there know it gets up to 110, 115, and people are still going about. So the hot news to stay indoors is a cover for something. Obviously, is it because they're protecting their population from what they think Israel and the United States might do a preemptive attack, or for their attack? I don't know. We got a lot of stuff going on, but as you can see from this article here, the White House believes Iran is backing down from Israel's strikes after diplomatic blitz. Diplomatic efforts to get Iran to step back down from launching a new attack on Israel may be having an effect. Then we got Blinken over here basically saying, it's urgent that everyone in the region take stock of the situation, understand the risk of miscalculation, and make decisions that will calm tensions. They said they've had this blitz of diplomatic interventions. Is it really doing any good? I don't know. I don't know if Iran's going to listen to any of them. And then you have this happening. Iran's acting minister, this gentleman right here, Bagheri, he arrived in Saudi Arabia because Iran called all the Arab nations together to have a meeting today. It's an emergency meeting of the Executive Committee of Foreign Ministers of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, during which Iran will ask for support for the coming, they said it's to ask for support for the coming retaliation action. But is it? Is it maybe Iran kind of getting a sense of what the other Arab countries will do if Iran goes ahead? Will they have some support with people? Will they back them? Will they not? Saudi Arabia already said you're not using our airspace. Maybe this is something they're talking about to open it up. You know, what is Jordan and Iraq going to do? You know, Egypt's already, we'll get in a minute, Egypt's already said, hey, we're not going to go against Iran, we're going to stay neutral. So this meeting here is probably to gather support, like they said, but I don't know if it's going to be military support. It might just be diplomatic support. Or it could be to get a sense of, well, some of these nations join them. You know, they got Yemen, they got Hezbollah, and they got Hamas, of course. Maybe they get some other people to help them out. And while I continue talking, I'm going to play this for you guys here. I want you to check this out. This is just a video that Iran put out about their underground missile tunnels. You can see they just been digging for years. So they got giant underground tunnels, as you can see here. They have plenty of missiles. They got them on rail cars. They can just line them up on those mobile carriers, launch them, you know, pull them out of the tunnels, launch them, put them back in. So I don't know if they fear retaliation or what, but you know, time will tell. I have two feelings on this. One is Iran is just making Israel wait. You know, they're kind of putting their plans together. They're kind of see how the U.S. is building up their forces. You know, what is in the U.S. They have a ton of naval forces there. They got a ton of aircraft carriers in the area. They have, you know, F-22s, F-18s, F-16s, F-35s, all that. They're going to full-blown protect Israel out there. And, you know, maybe it's being assessed. Maybe Iran will back down and do nothing. They'll lose a lot of face with their people, which they need to keep happy. So, I don't know. We're in a big stalemate right now. We'll see what happens. What do you think? Write down below what you think will happen. Do you think Iran goes for an all-out 1,000 missiles, coordinated attack, three-pronged, four-pronged attack from other, you know, if Hezbollah, Yemen gets in there, Hamas throws some stuff. Do they do that all at once? Or do they just say, we decided to do nothing, we're prevailing to cooler heads, something like this that happens, you're done for? I don't know. Russia's been flying nonstop aircraft full of military equipment over there, you know, high-end stuff. Putin said, you know, when, you know, as the U.S. kept pumping, you know, F-16s, high-end equipment, HIMARS, you know, the Patriots, all that stuff, ATACMS, all that stuff into Ukraine, Putin just recently said, hey, we're going to start arming your enemies. That's what they've been doing. So they're arming Iran with high-end equipment, anti-aircraft, counterintelligence, counter-warfare stuff, electronic warfare, who knows what else. They're going to give them nukes. They gave Belarus nukes. They could just train in some nukes to Iran, and then they would have them. So it could escalate into mushroom clouds. It could die down. It's a weird sense I get right now. You know, I don't have a leaning either way, actually. I thought we'd see action by now, and the fact that we haven't makes me lean towards maybe nothing will happen. But they could surprise us. So we got all that tension going on. It could escalate into something disastrous. We shall see. Moving on from that, let's look at this real quick. This is the all the naval assets in the area. You can see you got the Roosevelt Strike Group in the Persian Gulf, which, you know, Iran could close the Strait of Hormuz right here. They easily have the rockets to take these ships on, for sure. And then we got some more carriers, or the USS Cole over here, some more destroyers and all that. You got the Roosevelt, you got the Wasp 12 ship amphibious crew. So, you know, U.S. is ready to help out. There's Marines there, all that stuff. So, someone's just waiting to drop that match on the powder keg and have it explode. If it doesn't go this time, it's eventually going to go. I don't see it calming down and everybody just, you know, going to cooler heads. We shall see. Anyway, moving on. Let's move on from there. We have Egypt says it will announce it is refused to join the regional military coalition. Like I said, they're going to remain neutral. You know, they're part of BRICS too. Iran, Russia, all part of BRICS now. So, you know, the BRICS nations they got a lot of clout. They got a lot of power. And then we have this going on. You probably haven't heard much. You probably heard that some of the U.S. bases in Syria were bombed from the Iraq side. Let's shut that off. And there were some injuries. There were 7 injured so far. But what you haven't heard is that the U.S. is actually losing ground over there. You know, the U.S. has their base around oil fields, but not for the oil. That's what they're, you know, State Departments can tell you. It's not for the oil. You know, that's how they're there to fight terrorists. They just happen to be at an oil, you know, field, basically. Not because they're taking the oil. They're not doing that. They're terrorists. Anyway, so the U.S. forces are panicking because Syrian forces are starting to retake their country. Syrian forces have begun capturing Syrian oil fields that the U.S. forces did occupy. They've taken about 81 square kilometers. Not huge, but it's something. They're starting to take it back. We'll see where it goes. This is flying under the radar. It could be part of the Iranian strategy. You tie up all these American units over here, you know, they can't help fight. They can't help shoot missiles down. So we got to keep our eye on this. We got to keep our eye on what's going on with this. And there's something else flying under the radar. We have North Korea, you know, Kim Jong-un, he transferred 250 ballistic missile launchers towards the border of South Korea. No one's saying much about this. You know, as you can see, there's big fanfares. So you can see them all lined up there. Of course, we know they have nukes. You know, these are all nuclear capable, that they can move them in there. Do they have nukes on them? Probably not. Doesn't mean they can't be put on there really quickly. But, you know, North Korea, silent. You know who else has been silent? China. Yeah, they've been flying more and more planes. They're getting up to 30s, 40s some days, you know, flying planes around Taiwan and doing all that. So, you know, China backs Iran as well. If you're that, what they call it, the coalition of resistance or whatever they're called, but with the United States and the weakness they have, how thinly we're stretched because we've given all the arms and weapons and money to Ukraine and now to Israel. If you're Putin and Xi, you know, if you're Russia and you're China and you're Iran and North Korea, if you ask me, it's time to pull the trigger, especially before the election. You don't want to wait for the election. You don't know what result's going to come out, you know, from there. And speaking of the election, does anyone out there believe they actually want Kamala to be president? I know if you look at the odds and the betting right now, they have Kamala like, you know, 55-45 on the betting, you know, stance on the odds taking over Trump. That just means to me it looks like shades of 2020 again. And then who knows what happens here, you know, locally in the United States. So, you know, what kind of chaos is that going to bring? But I'm on side tangents, and I know this video's gone on for a while, but let's end with the fact that if that coalition resistance, if they want to, now is the time that, you know, China hits Taiwan, North Korea takes on South Korea, Russia goes hard into Europe, you know, Iran takes on Israel, because you know what, U.S. could not withstand all that. They couldn't. They'd have to pick one battle and go for it. They're not taking on four sides. So I see that as a grand opportunity for, you know, these, you know, North Korea, China, Russia, and all these people. And if I was them, I'd take advantage of it. You know, if I play the devil's advocate, I'd take advantage of it. Now's the time. You know, step on the throat when the U.S. is down. Speaking of stepping on the throat of people, we're going to end with this. This is the UK Prime Minister. It says now in the UK, you know, they've been having protests because, well, some immigrants who may or may not have come there the correct way, probably not, are stabbing people, killing people, having riots, chasing, you know, UK citizens, we'll call them the white people around. And then there's been counter protests where the UK residents are then attacking Muslims and immigrants. And they're having people get injured and fighting. But the government has come out on the side of basically the immigrants saying, we're going to protect you. We got your back. And we're going to arrest anyone from the UK that, you know, has done violence as part of these protests, but not on the other side. You know, it's kind of like the BLM riots. You know, a whole bunch of, there weren't any arrests, there weren't any charges. If they were arrested, they were released. But any counter-protesting like that, those people went to jail. Those people were arrested, all that. So it's kind of happening in the UK. In fact, we have this last statement, that they're not going to arrest citizens for retweets that are deemed hateful. So if you're on X here and you retweet something, doesn't mean you like it or dislike it, you just want to put it out there, they might come and arrest you. They were going door to door because people were posting on Facebook or whatever app you want, social media, saying stuff against immigrants, and they were being arrested. So UK is lost, if you ask me. They're in deep trouble over there. They're headed towards that, you know, that civil war basically. You know, the people over there, UK citizens, you might want to think about taking your country back. And that could spread, you know. That could spread to other countries, and maybe it needs to. So let's end on that note right there. Love to hear your comments and your thoughts down below. Feel free to put them down there. Subscribe, like the video, all that great stuff. Share it with other people. We appreciate all the help. And we're getting towards that end of August. It's coming. It's time to take your garden, can that food, dry that food, freeze dry it if you're lucky enough to have one. It's a busy time. You're going to see me off and on because every day I'm on that garden harvesting and trying to put as much food away as I can, along with all the other stuff I work on, which hopefully you're doing as well. So until next time, keep your ear to the ground and head on a swivel.